This is Big D from TacoYaki and
Oh, goodness me.
once again. Alright. So, this is Big D and Shade from TacoYaki Anime.
Yo!
And welcome to Monthly Ketchup number 33. Today, we will be talking about the anime during the fall season of 2017 that we have finished and our final thoughts about them.
You know, mostly me, but, you know, occasionally you too.
Yeah, every now and then I watch a couple shows. Alright.
What's up first?
So, first and loudest, we have Black Clover.
Black Clover. Yeah. This is like a train wreck that you just can't look away from. It's just... I don't... This main character just... God, he just needs to tone it down. Because, like, once you get past his... I want to scream and shout and yell about every little thing that I'm doing constantly, you actually have a good show. Mm-hmm. This is a really good shonen show. And I can see it going the distance and really getting a lot of episodes and everything. And I'm really intrigued. The characters, besides the main character, are really interesting. They have introduced the Wizard King at this point in the series, and he is just awesome in all the right ways. Mm-hmm. Because he reminds me of the old dude from Fairy Tail, the main. You've never seen it, okay? But he reminds me of him because he can be serious, but for the most part, completely not.
Okay.
He gets yelled at by his helper all the time that he needs to be doing his job, but instead he's off gallivanting and doing whatever he feels like strikes his fancy at that moment in time. But he is serious. He does, want to help and whatnot and do the right thing. So his character is very interesting. You're seeing more about the characters and the guilds that both of the main characters have entered into. And you see kind of behind the scenes, and you're learning more about the world in general, because in general, the world is really messed up. There is like class differences between people who are born with extraordinary magical gifts and then those that aren't, that have very little. And there's like a hierarchy, and people can only live depending upon how much magic they hold in certain areas, and they're considered useless if they don't. And it's really interesting, really cool. I'm enjoying all the different magics that I'm seeing at this point. We got one person who's been an ice manipulator that they went up against, and it's I kind of feel like the same way I did when I first started watching Hunter x Hunter, because it's another one and it's like that, and it's very much we're following along with the story. We're learning what's going on. We're learning more about the world, and I just foresee this really being a great show as long as the main character stops yelling. The moments that he is actually serious, tones it down, and talks normally are great. They're great. I really follow along. I really have a great time with it. But every time we get to one of those moments where he's got to be yammering on or yelling about every little thing, like he's got to go clean something, he's going to get, I'm going to go clean! And I'm like, I don't care. Stop that. No. Just take that energy and like half it and we'll be fine. I just feel myself skipping ahead. Being like, okay, when are we going to get back to the good stuff? When are we going to get back to the important stuff? What's happening? Beyond that, though, great show. It just, his main character just makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes. It really does. He really does. And, I usually, even if a show is good, if a main character is that annoying, I will just stop watching because he just drives me crazy. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he can have moments where he's not screaming and yelling his head out about every little thing, and that the actual story behind this is really intriguing and really good, I keep watching. So I think I remember seeing somewhere that this show is supposed to have like 54 episodes or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe even more than that, but either way, I mean, it's definitely going to be up there. We'll see it for at least a couple of seasons, and then that's not even saying that they're not, going to say like this is all just one season here, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, now season 2, So
Yeah.
I guess we'll see about that.
They do a time skip a couple years.
Yeah.
Come back like a couple seasons later, or just go directly into it.
Yep. I can see that.
So I've only seen episode 1, or maybe 2 or 3. No, I've only seen episode 1. Like, they got to the castle. Is that?
The castle, I think that was at least episode 2, maybe 3.
Okay. So, yeah, I've seen right when they walked up to the castle, and then that was...
yeah. At this point in the series, I'm now to where they've each have their own guilds that they're in, and each of them have now gone on their first mission.
Okay. So there's not really, like, a big bad guy that they're all going against?
There's hints of... a main focus group.
Okay.
But nothing has come out to, like, be exact.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Whenever I get some free time, I will catch up on that one, because it does seem interesting. As far as shonens go, like, that show seems kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, and with his abilities and the fact that everyone sees him as having no power, and then he'll draw out this giant sword from a book and just decimate people left and right. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about the world. I want to know more about how things are operating and everything, and see if he actually can get his dream into fruition of becoming the Wizard King, even though he has 0 magical power, or at least that's what everyone says. So.
Cool. All right. Well, we shall see this show a couple more seasons. The next show that we're going to be talking about is Juuni Taisen.
Ah, yes. Juuni Taisen.
Yes.
All right, you go ahead and start off on this one.
I kind of want to wait back to hear your opinion first.
Well, I think it's quite ironic how we were discussing this from before, after we'd watched the first couple episodes, and we were like, well, it's either going to be the fact of Monkey's going to go the distance, or it's probably going to get killed off real soon. And what it ended up happening, we're like, oh, okay, like 2 weeks after that, I think.
Yeah.
Like episode 6 or something. I'm like, oh, well, that happened. I don't know. I was entirely with it. Like, all the deaths, all the how everyone had met their end, even in those like that were very sudden. I was still okay with. I was like, okay, I'm with you on this. I can see this. That was poetic justice on some of them. That was their own comeuppance on another, or that was interesting and enough to where it's like, okay, I can see that as something that would have happened, kind of thing. And obviously from like even the first episode, it's pretty obvious that the freaking rabbit dude was going to be like towards the end just because of his abilities. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, that dude needed to die so badly. The ending is what killed it for me.
Okay.
In all honesty, it was the ending that killed it for me. And I can't necessarily say it was bad, because how it ended made sense. How the guy had his wish. By the way, freaking Rat's power, that was amazing. I did not see that one coming, and it all kind of makes sense. And because of that and how he does it, I mean, I can see why it ended the way it ended. But it's still aggravating that it ended that way. It's just aggravating that that's how it had to end. But I mean, I guess, again, I'm torn. I'm like, I can see the reason why, but it's still aggravating that it did. And the fact that he used his wish in such a way, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see that, because his way of his ability almost reminded me of ReZero.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that he does that, and I'm looking at it going, okay, yeah, I could see you wanting to forget all that, because, wow, that would suck so badly. So I totally get that, but at the same time, I'm like, damn it, why did it have to end that way? It just, And then the fact that you kind of see how each one of them have, well, I mean, and some of them you already kind of knew how things were going to play out, or how their personality-wise, how they were and whatnot. But at the same time, like towards the end where you because of Rat's ability and what he can do, the fact that he was able to actually see another side of pretty much each of the actual warriors in there, I thought was really, because it added a little bit more depth that we were missing from that. Otherwise, they're just being warriors. I mean, they had their own backstories in their own way, but it was still nice to actually see something like that as well.
Yeah, I really like how that whole section of the show was kind of like, it's real talk. It's like, yeah, we're enemies. Yeah, we all got to fight. Yeah, we all have a wish, but it's just like, just give a little bit of honesty. Like, just express yourself for a second. I really like that part of the show, because when it first started, they didn't explain what was happening. So after he started talking to one person, I'm like, oh, okay, he just came across that person. And he started talking to another person, and I'm like, okay, it's rare, but maybe he came across 2 of those people. And then he came across another person, and I'm like, no. People would have like seen him talking to everybody, and I don't think he would have survived that. But the way that they had it play out, I was like, oh, that's what he's doing. So I'm like, that part was really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, like that, oh God, to relive that like 100 times and feel that 100 times. I mean, even what he was saying before about like breakups and stuff like that. You know, how he kept trying to get with this one girl, but he went through 100 possibilities and each one of them failed. But he had to have that feeling of rejection or embarrassment or aggravation 100 different times, because he remembers each and every single one of them. That's even just a small part of that. I mean, then the fact of being dead, I'm like, okay, wow. The fact that what's his name from ReZero, you know, at one point, because of everything that happened, he went freaking nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? And when that happened on ReZero, I looked at it and went, you know what? I understand that. I don't feel like that was forced or anything. I actually and really understand the fact that you just pretty much lost it because of everything that had happened to you up to that point, and you remember all of that. And the fact that this dude does that and 100 times, I'm like, holy crap.
So this show is very interesting. So I want to kind of do like we did for Recreators, where we go through the characters, because these characters are very interesting, and I kind of want to like go through. They're
all very unique in their own way.
Yeah, so I kind of want to go through each, like all 12 characters. Very cool. Like battle royale type show.
I think they did it in a really good way, because that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you just get bogged down in the fighting and nothing else kind of happens. So
yeah, and then also like in that one show, something of the 6 flowers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that turned into like a whodunit 12 angry men kind of debate for like most of the show, and that was an interesting way to do it also. I'm glad that this show didn't really do it. They didn't do the whole accusing thing, but a lot of people had like really long monologues, which I was okay with some of them. And in my opinion, I'm not sure if it was just my mood or what, but I feel like they would develop something and then and then he died. Next character.
Yep.
And then like write this beautiful backstory, and I'm like, and then he died. Next character. And I kind of feel like a lot of my empathy and like feelings for the character kind of got wasted like over and over in different ways for each of the characters. So I feel like I wanna give this show like the I don't know, like our opinions that it deserves. Like other shows, they are good and everything, but this show had like really good characters. And whenever we come across a show like that, I wanna dive like a little bit into each. Okay. So I guess we can go from the picture. So like the top left guy, the horse.
Oh, the dude that was wanting to be strong.
Yeah, the big muscular dude. Like he had a pretty cool story and everything. I hate the way that he died. I don't really tie his last actions into his backstory. Like he fought the Ox dude, And like, I guess the guy like scared him, and then there was like the wall exploded, and then he ran off, and then he was just curled up in a ball for like the rest of his time in the show.
I mean, I think what it came down to is that he had built himself up because he wanted to be the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be the strongest, regardless. He wanted the power, and that's why he kept building up his muscles, building up his defense. And when you do something like that, you get it into your head that you're up there. You're top of your game. You're unbeatable, kind of thing. And then he came across the Ox, and at first he thought he was on par with the Ox because he was contemplating the idea of teaming up. And honestly, if you're thinking about that in that sort of situation, the only reason why someone would want to team up with you is that they consider you on par with them. Yeah. And when they first started fighting, I think he realized real quickly that was not the case. Ox was just way too much for him, and he could barely hold his own to not get killed right away.
Yeah.
And I think in that being the case, it just literally crumbled his reality around him.
So it's like one of the things where it's like, yeah, I could probably take out some of these other people, but eventually I'm gonna have to fight him anyway. And then he just kind of gave up, I guess. Yeah. So, okay.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I put that. I think he got inside his own head a little too much, and he was like, I'm great. I'm powerful. I'm even on par with Ox. I can take. We're gonna go head to head, and things are gonna happen. And then what ended up happening is he realized rather quickly, no, I'm not. I am really not. I'm not nearly as powerful as I thought I was, and I'm pretty much gonna die. And that probably just scared the ever-living crap out of him. So while I didn't necessarily like his ending, I could probably see where it came from. But again, other than the Ox, I think he had like one of the shortest backstories. Like, I really didn't know a whole lot about him at all, other than he was wanting to become more strong, more bulk, more everything about himself. So,
okay. We have a technical issue. The audio is fine, but Skype crashed.
Oh.
So I don't know if
I still see you and hear you.
Yeah. So on our call, that's it. I'll just join back in.
Oh, I see. Twitch is down. Twitch is stopped.
So I need to.
Now it looks weird.
Yeah, what happened? Did it not make it into the call?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me. Technical difficulties.
Of course.
We shall be back shortly. Let me. Okay. I'm gonna just close Skype. Then bring it back.
Bring back the stream to me.
There we go. Okay. Then pop. Alright. We are back. So, we just finished talking about the Ox. So
No. Horse.
Let's see. I'm trying to think what order I guess we should go in counterclockwise according to the pick, because the Ox was pretty cool.
Well, we talked about the horse. That's all we've talked about so far.
Yeah. So right under the Ox we have the what was the first lady? The boar?
Oh yeah, her.
Yeah,
the one that died like right from the get-go.
So we had talked about this in our first impressions, how they basically showed off her awesome fighting powers, and then she talked and died, and within the first few minutes.
I mean, her only ability is that she has never-ending bullets, which is, cool. Don't get me wrong. And she's quite ruthless. And honestly, I kind of felt like when out of all of them, I probably had zero compassion or sympathy for the fact that she died. Considering the backstory that they showcased for her, I was like, that was probably a good thing that she died when she did.
Yeah. It's I'm a little because I'm trying to think, where can I put this? There we go. I'll put it in here. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, she deserved it kind of stuff. It's she got really corrupted.
Yeah, she did.
And because of that, then I have no sympathy for her and stuff like that. But I feel like they wasted her potential, because if she was just a pure talented soldier, and just went into it like that. I feel like she could take tons and tons of people out, even if she didn't use like the stuff that was cool to me was not even the bullet stuff. It was like her physical fighting ability. And it's like I see that going into this tournament and everything, everybody has to have some kind of special power because like hand-to-hand combat. Well, I don't know. Like the monkey, she had like really nice hand-to-hand combat, but she was also like really smart. So.
She was above all everyone else, like probably the best in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, so I feel like if the boar without the guns and everything went up against the monkey, I think the monkey would take her out. But yeah, I feel like they kind of, I don't know, they did the same thing where they're like, man, look how cool she could fight, and then she's not gonna fight at all. She's gonna use bullets, and then she's gonna die in the first episode. And I'm like, come on. So,
but again, out of all of them, I was not anywhere. I was actually a little bit glad that she kind of did.
Yeah. Considering
her personality, I was like, no, you're no one that anyone I think really wants to win this, and it would probably be bad if you did. So let's just go ahead and say that that's probably for the best.
So the next person in the list is the monkey.
I was actually a little sad that she died.
Yes.
I was a little sad. I mean, I'd already kind of primed myself for the fact that it was a possibility and a rather strong one, given how the show works and everything. But I was still a little sad that in the end she did, because especially the fact that she died to the rabbit.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, good, no, you above all else. If she'd have died to like the ox or someone, I would have been like, you know what, that's sad, but I'm okay with that. But she died to the rabbit, which meant she got zombified.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, and then she
now you have someone who already has incredible strength and great hand-to-hand combat, is now have undead strength on top of that.
Yeah.
And is still good at hand-to-hand combat. I'm just like, oh, God.
I also kind of feel bad for her, like, husband, boyfriend, significant other.
Yeah.
Because, like, is that the only character? Well, other than because they showed the boar's family. No, they showed other people's like who they know outside of the old man. And then for the dog, he has that little kid and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they've shown it, but for some reason I just feel bad for that guy because he's like, you don't have to work all the time like that, and she's like, no, but I do, and he's like, okay, and he like eats his soup all sad, and now she's gone, and I'm like, I feel terrible for him. But yeah, with her death, like the way she died, like to who she died, I'm like, yeah, that's like that she died to the rabbit. But the way that she died, I'm like, okay, like because she was fighting him and she could see all his moves and everything, and then for him to pull out that like sneak attack, I'm like, okay, he got the upper hand.
The fact that he used the head of the snake.
Yeah.
In order to watch his back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a worthy enough ending. It was just sad and kind of aggravating the fact that it happened because of that. But no, I mean the only thing I'm really like, and then I kind of wanted to know what her plan had been.
Yeah, like even a lot of people wanted to know too in the show.
Yeah.
So,
I wanted to know what her plan would have been. It sucks that it ended that way because of that. So
next person in the circle is the dog.
I'm torn with his character. I really am.
I'm okay with the way that he went.
Yeah, when he died, I was actually kind of like, okay, yeah. I was almost in the same sense of like the boar, where I was like, yeah, that probably just needed to happen. Yeah. But then when you find out more about him and realize he's taking care of a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn it. Just damn it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I kind of felt that way, and I was kind of like, okay. But, I mean, yeah, his death, just like many of them, his death was still sudden, but it was very poetic in its own sense. The fact that he was trying to use the rooster? Yeah, the rooster. He was trying to use the rooster, and then she'd pretty much been playing him the entire time.
Yeah, like that was clever. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, the next guy is the bomb guy. OG-chan.
Him too. I was kind of like, I was a little like, we seem to keep going back and forth. So like, Bora was like, all right, I'm glad she died. Then was like, not so glad. It's kind of sad. Then kind of glad. Now this one I was kind of like, it's kind of sad that happened.
Yeah.
Wait, it did. Keep going back and forth on that.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the old dude.
Yeah.
He was a survivor. He was,
Definitely.
you know.
I didn't like him when he was younger, but as an older guy, I'm like, okay, he's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that shows that as he progressed, he got wiser with age.
Yeah.
And he started being smarter about the things that he did.
Mm.
And so, I mean, I kind of liked his character, and it's kind of sad to see him go, and especially as sudden as it went. But here was somebody just like it was with the dog, who underestimated their opponent.
Yeah, vastly.
Vastly underestimated. I mean, the dog underestimated the rooster, and he vastly underestimated the tiger. He thought, oh, she's drunk, and because you know what, the minute she said her name and said who she was, with killing with a drunken rage, I was like, oh, you're a and then all of a sudden it was like done. I'm like, yep, nope, that's I saw that's about to happen. I mean, I was kind of too. I was like, wait, is she just getting drunk? Is it just because no one's around? She's like, oh, I can do whatever. And then she pronounces her name, and I'm like, killing with a drunken rage. Bam, dead. I'm like, all right, well, shit. That happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how like he was trying to avoid the he didn't run away from something for a long time. That was another person. It was I think he just was just running away from the ox.
He ran away from the ox, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, he had cunning and he had smart.
Yeah.
He was,
and then he had like he had like a if things go wrong plan. He's like, fuck it, boom, blow everybody up. So that was I really liked him. He was pretty cool. Let's see. The next person is, spoilers, the winner of the rat guy.
Rat. Again, like we were saying before, his power, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Or even have an inkling as to that. But the fact that he is the rat, that power almost kind of makes sense to me for him. Because, I mean, I can think of it in a couple different ways. Because you see a rat, and there's always swarms of them. So you got to figure, and all of them look the same. So he's got hundreds of lives, essentially. But he lives them out inside of his head.
That makes sense.
And the fact that rats always kind of seem as kind of cheap. And that ability is kind of cheap. Mm-hmm. The fact that he can basically run through 100 different possibilities in his head and see the outcome for each and every single one as it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, good Lord. That is like... But the fact that he retains the memories and the feelings of each and every single one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's... As cheap as that ability is, the blowback from that is intense. You remember each and every death. You feel each and every death. You know, getting burned to death, getting frozen, getting sliced up, getting shot up. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. How
that would work. But it would be the only reason why he was able to win what he was able to do. So.
Yeah, so, like you're saying, his powers is really cool. It's like super advantageous, but it has very, very bad drawback. Mm-hmm. And it's not one of them things where it's like it's like the ultimate trump card that you can use like every couple minutes. So it can be a huge burden.
No, it can be.
One thing so his power's cool. His personality sucks. He's like a little shallow high school brat. Like when he was talking with the monkey in the sewer, like you could tell like the differences in age or differences in maturity, where she would say certain things and he would say like, oh, just everybody just die and all that kind of stuff. And then even when they went into like his backstory and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I've had my moods where I'm like, I don't feel like talking to people, but like for people to just take on that personality and like that's just all the time, no people. I'm like, I get that, but I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like that part of his personality. He is very smart to where he only needs like he can figure everything out within 100 choices or most things. One thing that like a lot of there's two parts where he went through all of his choices and couldn't come up with an outcome, and I feel like he's not thinking about the big picture. So when he is, and that just may be an age thing. So when he was asking the girl out, I'm like, when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, she's cute, I should ask her out. And I eventually, like very few times, I would like ask somebody. One of my things would be they probably already have a boyfriend or somebody that they like. That's like one of the first things I would think of. And he tried 100 different times and then found out that she liked somebody else. And then he's like, oh no. So I feel like he's not thinking about the big picture as far as that situation.
Well, and I agree with that. But again, like you said, I think that it has to do with maturity.
Yeah. And it's like me, like that's one of the reasons why I want to kind of like review all these characters, because thinking of like hindsight's 2020, like knowing the power that he has and then thinking about earlier in the series how he thought about things, it's making me get a more solid like opinion of his character. So the second part is when he was trying to come up with the 99 wish or 100 wishes and stuff like that. I didn't want to go through and like pause and read all of the things that they put, because I think they put 100 choices. Some of them had like throwaway answers. Like I can't remember like some of them. I'm like, why would you think that? I can't remember. Like,
well, you mean like you're saying like some of the wishes that he had would seem like they would be more trouble than they were worse, kind of thing?
Yeah, like he would come up with a reason to immediately dismiss it, and I'm like, but what about this other reason that would be good? And that also may be tied into maturity, but
yeah, I mean he's short-sighted, but he doesn't have the experience to be able to actually see things in a broader perspective. So his focus is rather narrow. But I mean, again, he's in high school. It's kind of, it makes sense with his character. So
so that's like the more I think about it, like I like the way you said short-sighted. That sounds cool. So that little bit of I don't know, like I guess his immaturity like took more, and his immaturity bothered me more than how cool his power was. So well,
yeah, but I mean, once you realize that when he gets older, he's going to be like
unstoppable,
2 or 3 times even better than he is now. Just because
he's like 100. I need like 20 maybe.
Yeah.
So so that's gonna be cool. Let's see the next person. The tiger.
I really felt bad for her.
I
really did.
So sad.
I really felt bad for her. I mean, I understand her backstory. I understand where it comes from. She had a good life going for her, and then bad things happened.
Yeah.
And she lost her way. Is what it came down to. She lost her way, but see, she had so much power already that even after she lost her way, she could still carry on.
Yeah.
How she was.
Yeah.
And then because of that, then she ends up finding the ox and kind of sees somebody in the way she wanted to be in the first place.
Yeah.
So she actually starts kind of idolizing him.
Yeah.
But then like the way that ended, where the ox had to kill her, I was just like, oh God.
Yeah.
God. Because you could almost say that her admiration for him borderlined on probably love. I could see that. Which is probably the reason why she made the choice without even thinking about it of protecting the ox.
Yeah.
Because, but all in all, though, as far as that goes, that aside, as far as her backstory, her power, though, was still pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Cool. The fact that, she was basically drunken warrior. She was the drunk she got, the more powerful she got.
Yeah.
Move faster, hit harder, brush off, blows to her without even really considering it or having to worry about it. I mean, it was just, yeah.
Yeah. I like her kind of roller coaster, how she was like naive, just not knowing about like the horrors of the world. And then the way she took it is just to kind of drown everything in alcohol. And in doing that, she ended up developing this really cool power that helps her continue in her profession. But then she finds somebody like, I don't know if like she 1 second. What? Like I don't know, like what, like why was the ox just faster than her, and then just like he just showed up on the battle scene, and before she could actually kill anybody, he killed everybody first.
I think so.
So I can't remember if it was
think
that or if she was just like in another rut and like wasn't really.
Well, I mean, she was kind of walking that way, and then was about to get ambushed, and the ox stepped in before she could actually react to it. So she kind of came as that damsel in distress kind of thing, and he kind of saved the day, and then took her back to get medical attention. Mm-hmm. But that in itself was still sad, is the fact that he didn't realize who she was.
Yeah. Even
though he didn't know her.
Yeah.
And even he was saying that, oh, she reminds me of that one girl I found on the battlefield that I ended up saving. And I'm like, yeah, it's because that's who it was.
Yeah. It's like, but it couldn't have been her because she doesn't drink.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really funny. And then once she met the ox, she turned back to the way she used to be, except she's like way more knowledgeable now. So now she's like...
Well, it's because she got her shit together. She actually started focusing on where she needed to be.
Yeah.
She had a purpose. She had a goal. She understood that even in this crazy world, there was still somebody powerful out there who still did what they believed, that they made a choice and they stuck by it, kind of thing. So,
I guess one thing that's also like really cool that I'm thinking happened is she, like you said, she got her stuff straight and everything. And then she started using like guns and everything in her job, where I feel like she knew that she didn't need to get like in drunken fist mode for every situation. Yeah. And like when the situation called for it, then she would like just drink herself into that mode and then go all out. So yeah, it's like really cool now that I think about it, because like at the beginning of the was she already drunk in the very beginning? Like when they all walked into the room?
Nope.
Yeah, because then she saw him and he noticed that he didn't recognize her, and then she just got all pissed and like went into drunk mode. So yeah, like,
well, I think she realized that at that point that she needed to be at her full extent. Yeah. Simply because, I mean, the whole building blew up and they had to all go fleeing from it. Yeah. Kind of thing. So if that doesn't put you completely on your guard and be like, all right, this is serious. Something's about to go down, and I need to be like on top of my game now at this point. Yeah. So that's why she pulled out all the stops. But still funny to see that she got drunk in a park basically and had like some 20 bottles surrounding her. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah. Jeez. And then just like the monkey, she ended up she ended up getting seriously injured by the rabbit, and
but then the ox ended up finishing her off before she could become his puppet.
Yeah, because that would be very bad.
That would have been bad enough with the monkey.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, she was my favorite character, and of course my favorite character dies. So I wasn't, and I'm trying to think, like, she had the most development out of all the characters, I think. Yeah. So
probably the next one too, or would have been Monkey.
Yeah, and then probably the twins would be after that. Yeah. So yeah, Tiger's my favorite, but she went out like, I don't know, like the very very end of it was, I'm like, okay, that's cool. So the next person is the twins, or next people are the twins.
I did not care much for them. I really didn't. Yeah. I held no remorse. I felt like I wasn't necessarily elated that they had died, in the same sense that I was kind of like with Boar. I was like, all right, that needed to happen. Mm-hmm. But I think they were as about middle of the road, neutral of a character as you could possibly get. Yeah. Where I had no strong feelings one way or the other for them.
Because it's like they were jerks in the actual battle, and then if you go in their backstory, they were still jerks, and you're like, you know what? I don't like these dudes. So
you're jerks. You do some things potentially kind of good, but whatever. Yeah. But I mean, at that point, their backstory came so late in the series, and we'd already seen so many other worse people that did that, much worse and whatnot, that by the time their jerkishness came up, I was just like, whatever. Yeah. You're whatever. You almost seem petty in comparison to the rest of them. Yeah. So
And like they even try, like I don't know. I feel like for me, I feel like a lot of this, like I said earlier, like they'll build up something and like nope, throw that in the trash. Build up something else, you're like this, nope. So I feel like they did that with these characters twice. Like in the fact of, they were kind of like Robin Hood, except they would kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like take from the rich, take from the rich, give to the poor, and then kill everybody. And I'm like, well, okay. And then there was another part where when the rat talked to them, and he talked to them both at the same time, and they're like, oh, everything's about the money. And then he talked to them individually, and they had like a completely different, yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's like, why? Like, why'd you like? You keep building up stuff, but then taking it away. And I'm like, when they built
I think for them, I think it's because of the fact that it might have been that the twins thought the other wanted the money, so that's what they said.
Yeah.
Just because they thought that.
Yeah. But
in reality, that wasn't the case, and it wasn't until he got them alone that they were actually able to be honest about it.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like it's like out of the two deaths for both of them, the first one was kind of funny. Because it's like, the tournament didn't even start yet, and he died.
You're already dead, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, they won't be teaming up. And then the second one, I have a question. Why was he flying? 'Cause I'm like,
he's the dragon? That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
The other one, the one with the fire was the snake.
Yeah.
And then the ice one was the dragon. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure they just gave him that ability, essentially, is that he can fly. Okay. But that's all I can think of.
They had mentioned something about the other one, like, they had mentioned Snake something about him. I can't remember what they had mentioned.
Yeah,
or like Serpent Rip, something. They mentioned something about that. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because I'm like, that little frozen hydrogen thing, I'm like, if it's spraying out enough to like propel him into the air, I'm like, that thing should have been empty a long time ago. So.
Yeah, I know. That's just his ability. Because they did that when they were escaping. He didn't have the tank. They were escaping that warehouse where the snake dude got the lizard, and they went out through the roof.
That's right. Okay. I was so confused. I'm like, he was floating in the air for like an episode and a half, and I'm like, why are you flying? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
didn't help him any.
No, that was so cool how that happened. Because it was like...
Monkey propelled Rabbit straight up to him.
Yeah, like everything the Rabbit has...
sliced him in half.
Yeah, everything the Rabbit has is all like a hive mind. And it's like... Or I'm curious if like the monkey thought of it. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll be over there in just a second. And then... Like, she just...
That's entirely
boom!
plausible.
I'm like, whoa! I'm like...
I mean, you already knew she was strong to begin with. Yeah. And then the fact that she got undead... and was even stronger.
Yeah,
I can totally see that.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, the twins, they're all right. Yeah. The rooster.
She kind of had a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
She had a tragic. I kind of felt sorry for her, but not nearly as much as the other two, like Monkey and Goat. I felt more sorry for. Mm-hmm. But again. I consider her death to be quite poetic in its own way.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, she ended up getting eaten by birds. So.
Yeah, because she ran away from the or.
No, she took advantage of the dog.
Yeah.
And got injected with that venom that he had to make her like a super soldier, essentially.
Yeah, and then that
But
backfired
because of that venom, her aggression
made her so aggro.
Basically she instead of running away like she would have, she went into the fight.
Yeah. Because
of the aggression that she had from that, and she had no chance against the ox, even with that, and was like sliced pretty much right then and there. Yeah. I think it was a one-hit shot and be like, all right, you're done. Yeah. And as she lay bleeding there on the street, her birds came and ate her up.
That's right. She controlled the birds. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, she had made the birds eat the body of the snake. Mm-hmm. And then I guess at that point in time, after she was no, I don't think it was the dog. She came across the body of the headless body of the snake, didn't she?
Well, I think the snake was chasing the mouse later on.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was the dog. I think she just. But I thought she just snapped his neck.
Hmm.
I swear she just snapped his neck.
Who
And then it was one of the zombies that were running around that she ended up. Oh, it was the boar. She killed the
yeah, that's right.
body of the boar.
Okay.
Because then they tried to use the ammo thing where she was trying to kill all the birds, but there were too many birds for her to actually take out. So basically, by the time she could, they'd already started ripping into her and ate her up. Okay. And then she remembers saying to the birds, "Well, I know you're going to be full for a while, but you'll be hungry soon again." And so by the time she was laying there bleeding out on the street, she just accepted her fate then and just called her birds and had her kill them basically.
Okay.
She was like, okay, sure, that's what floats your boat.
And then after her, we have the rabbit.
I think the only reason why he probably has the least amount of backstory is simply because, like, other than the ox, I think it's just because the ox had at least a little bit of story with the tiger, and that was it. Hello.
Yeah.
Can I help you? But I don't know. There was very little backstory to him at all. None really.
So with like as far as the story goes, I feel like they gave backstory to people who they want you to feel for, and they wanted to keep the rabbit as just the main villain, so they didn't give him any backstory.
Yeah, no, he literally had zero backstory.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to know how he got to where he was.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because like I want everybody to be my friend. I'm like, did something happen when he was normal? And like nobody wanted to be his friends? And he's like, I'll make you my friend or something.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, and I'm like...
Not where that came from.
I feel like if they did that, then you'd kind of feel sorry for him, his human form, but then still
With the things that he had done, all the things he did, no, he was psychotic.
Well, it's like you would think of, like, for me, I would think of him in two ways. I would think of it like a tragic life, and then because of what happened in his life, he ended up turning into this just demon. And because of what people did to him before, now look at what you've created is this like unstoppable creation.
And his outfit too.
He was wearing heels. So. Like, super buff legs and
eclectic choice, I'm sure, but still, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, like every time he like walked from around the corner, it was like just big thighs, like tink, 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 tink. And I'm like, ew, run.
I don't know. Every time I saw him, like, until he started doing something, if he was just standing there, I could not take him seriously. Until he started doing something, killing somebody, or speaking, I really couldn't take him seriously. But yeah, I want everyone to be my friend kind of was like, dude. And of course, everyone knew when Rat asked him what his wish was going to be, what it was going to be. I already knew what that was.
Yeah.
What he's been doing this entire time.
Yep.
He wants everybody to be his friend.
Yeah. But one thing about his like his, I guess, intelligence level, I'm like, is he getting it from all of his like friends? Because certain parts I'm like, I can see him doing that on his own, but then a lot of things like jumping up into the sky and taking out the dragon, I don't see him coming up with that. Luring the monkey over to that tree where he has that head, I can see him doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like I couldn't get it like.
There's a fine line between genius and psychoticness, because you really have to be out of your mind to really think about things in ways that no one's ever thought about them before.
Yeah. So
I can see him being a highly intelligent person, but he's also completely psychotic.
Okay.
Completely psychotic. So I think he just kind of goes back and forth between that.
Okay, that makes sense. Alright, and the last character, the ox.
Again, other than the rabbit, he was probably the only one who really didn't have any backstory to him whatsoever.
Yeah, like even the stuff that he did with the tiger, he was just like... He
was in and out.
He was like, I'm here to save you, okay, see you later.
Yeah, he puts down some rhetoric about how he does what he feels like needs to be done, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But like, everybody in there knew him immediately.
Yeah.
There wasn't a person in there who did not know of him.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm slowly losing it. When towards the end when I feel like he's so powerful and so skilled that he doesn't know how to be normal.
Yeah.
Because when
he's lost his humanity, basically.
Yeah, because when what was it? When the tiger was bleeding out and he was like, so, but what about our duel? It's like, and she's like, nah, just forget about it. And he's like, okay, I will do this as the duel. And then like, he's just like adamant on certain things.
He's arrow focused on that certain thing. But yeah, no, I could see that where he's just become so powerful that he pretty much has lost whatever humanity he had. But I mean, I can't necessarily say there were definitely characters that I didn't like more than him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying not like as far as, you know, he kind of seemed like the bad guy because everyone was afraid of him.
Yes.
No one wanted to go up against him.
Yeah.
And like he decimated and pretty much broke the horse right from the get-go.
Yeah.
But even then, when you started to actually hear him and see what he does and listen to what he says, I didn't hate him as a character.
Yeah.
I thought he was a really good character. I thought he was really well done. And how he ended up meeting his end was quite poetic in his own way. It was probably the only way he could have gone down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, basically the only way you could get rid of him is to take his sword away and basically strap him to a bomb.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened in a roundabout way, but yeah.
Yeah, that last like encounter, it's cool how everything like tied in and it was like, this is his 1 in 100 chance. Like, he just happened to hear this from this one person. He just happened to hear that from another person.
Happened to get this from one person.
Yeah. And
he had to get the bomb.
Yeah. And then he had a few seconds, like maybe a minute, and then that window will be gone. So, yeah, that last...
And there was no malice towards it. There was no malice towards it at all. He literally said, I'm sorry, this is just the way it's going to have to be. And the Ox saw it, knew what was being done, knew what was being said. So, no, I understand.
Yeah.
It was all just like matter of factly, like, yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because even the Ox. Yeah, like even the Ox, he was like, I don't know how I would get rid of him either. It was like, so every time I chop him into pieces, he just starts rolling after me. And he's like, I can't get to gas quick enough or to something to blow up quick enough.
Yeah.
So. He's like, yeah, this is it was so cool that last encounter. So the everybody clap your hands guy.
He needed to die. I mean, he just needed to die.
There was no reason he had to say that one phrase.
No, and he said it all the time.
Yeah, everything else, he sounded ominous. He sounded cool. He sounded like he's in charge. Like
everybody clap your hand. No. No. Just no. You go away now. You go in the corner and you think about what you did. No.
It was so weird. Because like when he was talking to like the heads of like countries or whoever those people were, I can't remember. And yeah, he has this like just deep booming voice and he's like, he speaks like kind of quick, so it's like this and this and this and that, and then everybody, okay, now it's time to place your bets and all that kind of stuff. And then just all of a sudden, it's like he knew that it would just throw everybody off, and he's like, I'm just gonna say it because that makes me laugh.
That's my thing. That's what I do. Everybody, clap your hands.
Yeah. So I'd say if you took that one line from him, he would be like the coolest, like event holder.
Yeah,
but
I would agree. I would agree.
This is so weird. Did he say everybody place your bets in that way, or did he just say it normal?
I think he just said it normal.
Yeah, come on, why not?
So it's literally that one line is the only line he does that with.
I'm like, if he would have said it that way, I would have been like, you know what? I'm okay with you saying that line every now and then because you know when to use it, right? But he doesn't know.
No.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of weird. Like even when he was talking to the rabbit at the end, it was kind of like that Dormammu, I've come to bargain moment. It's like, it just kept repeating the same scene. He's like, oh, are you gonna help me? He's like, no, get out of here.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So overall, I would say it's a pretty cool story and everything. The characters are very interesting. I like the way the whole event played out. I wouldn't mind them doing like another season, like with different, like the next generation, like 12 years later kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because then like maybe, like for, let's say for the tiger is like one of the other people from the
dojo.
from the dojo from the dojo that she used to like beat up all the time, but that person was like number 2 or something like that. Yeah, that would be really cool to see. Like or maybe even no, I don't know if I would be okay with a prequel. Like, cause did they talk about like previous?
They mentioned one like in the beginning.
Okay, and didn't somebody like win before?
They had it in space, I think.
Okay. Oh yeah, I kind of remember something like that.
So.
But yeah, that'd be cool if they had like another one, like Juuni Taisen 2, the next generation or something like that. I had to watch it. All right. So this show is done. The next show we'll be talking about is Kekai Sensen and Beyond, or Blood Battlefront Blockade and Beyond.
Again, this is just like the first one. I feel like this is a series of just, we're gonna show you some weird and messed up things that happen, some crazy things that happen. Like at one point, one of the stories that came out of it was the main character's, one of his friends was like supremely weak. It was like shorter than him, scrawny, supremely weak. And then when the main character is getting mugged, his friend runs away, feels all, dejected. He's like, oh, I left my friend back there. I'm so weak. I'm so puny. I can't do anything. And then the main character, he ends up getting hit in the back of the head with some like UFO looking thing, small, tiny little, like maybe like size about a basketball or something, and ends up finding out that there is a microscopic organization that is trying to keep other microscopic things or beings sentient from causing havoc. And this one ends up meeting up with his friend, who basically says, I can make you bigger, stronger, and everything. But he doesn't know that, things like that always come with a price.
Yeah.
And every time he comes up against somebody who's stronger than him, his body grows and gains more mass and just gets stronger and bigger, to where there was actually he was pretty much Godzilla size at one point in the whole thing. And then the main character had to like use his ability to, he has a little pet monkey, sonic monkey basically, that's like really fast, but he had to like use his ability to give vision to the monkey to tell him where to go, and he had like a little device to put into the epicenter of his friend's brain to like counteract the things that were happening, so he'd return back to his normal size and everything. And things ended up working out in the end, things ended up happening, but it's like, that was literally just an episode, just one episode. So like that's pretty much what this is. It's like each thing, each episode is just a little bit of a story about the daily lives of these guys and what happens and the weird and interesting things that come about it. At one point, like their butler that they have ends up getting like broken severely, and they had to send a replacement in to help for the time being until he got better. And they end up finding out that, or the replacement didn't know about this world that they live in, basically, or he thought he knew, but he really didn't. And he ends up having his brain taken, and they're using it as a way of like, they connect it with the body. Or no, was it brain? I think it was his brain or eye or something like that. But basically, they use it connected with his body, so they can actually. They were having him go into this organization's computer system, so they could actually get all the secrets and everything. So then, when the organization found out, and they did it very secretly to find out, they ended up having to track down where his brain essentially went, and rescued it. Again, that was just one episode. It was just like, it's like. And it wasn't until the very end, the last 2 episodes, that there's something like actually like really sinister happen happen and things what got like really crazy there for a while.
Okay.
But again, still, this is just like, if I were to sum up the story for this is the daily life. It's almost a slice of life, but it's like a supernatural, I'm in the world of gods and demons and other monsters in New York City kind of thing. And I don't know. To me, they could come out with like 20 seasons of this, and I'd still watch it, because I'm like, there's still going to be more stuff that's happening, and like he's now only really now trying to figure out this kid's eyes, how they work and why he has them and what's happening with them, and it's only just now that he's really trying to even figure this stuff out. Okay. So I'm sure there's going to be more seasons of this, and I'm going to watch every single one of them, because, again, just, to me, it's so interesting. Because like I said before, I don't usually watch Slice of Life, but I will watch Slice of Life if it is interesting enough. You got to really have something that's going to catch my attention and make me go, all right, cool, this is different. It's still Slice of Life, but it's different enough to where it's actually interesting for me to pay attention to, and this definitely is it. Okay. People have all sorts of crazy abilities. There was one where when all this craziness and madness happened in New York, there was a hospital that ended up getting like transplanted to another realm, essentially. And there's characters in there who can like, there's a nurse or a doctor who basically like splits herself into multiple versions of herself, just slightly smaller. So like,
yeah.
You know, it's just, I'm always like, you don't know what to expect. You're like, I don't know how this is gonna work. I know something's gonna come cool about this, but here we go. You know, Hell, there was one where they have their trigger happy. You know, she's basically human, but she's really good with guns, like insanely good with guns. And there was one where she has a kid, and it's a parent-teacher day, and she wants to be there, but there's an operation going on at the same time. So she ends up going there as the parent, but she has to do everything remotely. She has she knows where like the building that her team was going to go into was. So she had a sniper gun situated with a remote control that she could control through her glasses. So she's standing there in the midst of everything, and like her kid's doing stuff, and she's standing in the back of the classroom killing people, essentially, from distance. That's
funny.
And then they had to have heavy artillery come in, so she ends up excusing herself to the bathroom, pulls out something from her purse, and it's like a hub, basically, where she controls a remote control attack helicopter. Just like, holy crap.
Talk about multitasking.
No kidding. Taking it to a new level. But it's like little stories like that, and things you just don't see or don't know, don't understand, and you're like, okay, yeah, cool. All right, this is interesting. So I will always enjoy this series. I have yet to find a fault in it at this point. I'm just always interested to see what's going to happen next.
Okay, cool. I am still on episode 1. So, I will revisit it one day when I swing back around with the backlog series. Let's see. The next show we're going to be talking about is Kino's Journey. The Beautiful World, the animated series.
This, to me, just like with Blockade Battlefront, same sort of deal. I mean, literally, you're following Kino around on his journey, and it's the interesting states and what they do and how they do, and you don't know what to expect from any given point in time, but each little country he visits always has their own little set of rules and regulations and how they handle things and what they do, and it's always so interesting to see and to understand, and you think you know how something's going to go, and then it just completely takes a different turn. I remember one state that it pops in my head and stays there. He ended up going to, and it was a really short little episode because it took I think it was one where he had they only saw him going to multiple states essentially. But anyways, he goes there and he's talking with his old guy, and he ends up finding out that everyone there gets, if they do good, they get rewarded with points essentially. and they can spend those points on pretty much anything. Obviously, if they do bad, they get points deducted, and if they get all their points deducted, they go to jail until they balance the scales, essentially. Yeah. Well, he was talking to this one guy, and this one guy had done great things. Like, he had been a scientist that had done great innovations. He had become president of that country for a while, and like he had advanced so many things, and he had acquired a great deal of points. And I didn't see it coming till it happened, but when it did, he was like, "So you have enough points now, you could essentially kill somebody and get away with it." And he looked at him and went, "Yeah, absolutely, I could." He's like, "I'm contemplating doing that right now." He's like, "Is that why you have your hand on your revolver?" And then you look over and you see Kino's hand has always been sitting on the side there, pretty much right on his gun. Yeah. He's like, "Yep, I'm waiting to see what you're going to do." And I'm like, this got serious. Thick. Holy crap. But if he has enough points that he could do murder and no one would be able to say anything about it, essentially, I mean, it's those types of things that really make you think. You're like, wow, given that situation, I mean, is that something that even I would do or contemplate or something? I mean, if you have that potential ability, if that power's in your hand, are you going to do it? Are you going to take advantage of it? Or are you going to let it slide, So, just like with, Battlefront Blockade, it's very interesting, and it's always new experiences going into it. And I mean, the way they ended it, basically they're pretty much geared up for another season, and it sounds like they're willing to do it. Whether they can or not, I don't know. But and it's just going to continue on with that, where you're just going to see more countries and more different situations that Kino gets put into. And they even, I didn't see all of the first season. I did see most of it, but I don't know if they ever explained it, but they did go into Kino's backstory a little bit. Yeah. Where you get to actually see what happened and how Kino's becomes Kino on this bike and doing these things. So, or Motorrad as they call it. Yeah. But again, still so interesting. I mean, hell, I think like the second to last episode, or no, it was the last episode. It had him going through a country that had sheep, and he ends up finding out later on that these sheep had actually been essentially like fighting dogs, essentially, kind of like you hear people, breed and train dogs that fight or whatever. Essentially, this country had done that with sheep. And then some activist group came along, and so they set them free in a pasture outside of their city. But then every person that came along, these sheep would attack. Yeah. So then he had to deal with the sheep. Yeah. But it's not one of those things you'd really think about, You're like, oh, sheep? Really? Oh, hello. Hi. Yeah. So, again, very interesting.
Okay. So I have seen part of the new series up until, I think, the Coliseum. So, like, the first 3 or so episodes. And then I went back and I'm like, I'm gonna watch all of the first one. And then I'm gonna finish the second one, or this one. And I didn't get that far. So basically, I got to the Coliseum in the first one. So between the two stories, some of the, I guess the Coliseum is in both, and the main reason why I wanted to watch the original series is because they had he had mentioned that he had met a couple in a covered wagon, and then later on they met that couple again, but it was only the wife. And because of what you discover about the Coliseum that they ended up both going to, you find out why only the wife came back. So I thought that in the first series you would find out, you would see the whole thing happen, and that's not the case. They keep it a mystery. It's something that's implied, which is cool. And the Coliseum episode, I think, takes place in one. Well, I guess the Coliseum arc takes place in one episode in the newer one, but they kind of spread it out to 2 episodes in the original. And when I watched the newer version, like the storytelling is a bit cleaner and is a bit more straight to the point. And that would make sense because nowadays they're like, you got 12 episodes to get your story across, and that's the standard. Back in the day, you had like 26. So I can see how, and also it's like, I guess anime is getting, I guess, quote unquote, better in certain ways, where like storytelling in anime is getting, I guess, better or more efficient nowadays. So the differences between the Coliseum is the main points still happen. It's just you get a bit more backstory in the first one. You get more secondary characters as far as the people who are fighting. Like I think in the newer one you see oh, that's what it was. A few people meet in like a hallway on the way to the fights, and they exchange words with Kino a couple times, and then I don't think you get to see their full fight, but in the old one you get to see more of it. And then the finalists, they get invited to meet the king, and he throws a play for them explaining basically the history of the country, and then kind of explaining why the king is the way he is. And they kind of like tell you everything. And in the newer version, they kind of leave a lot of that for you to guess and figure out. And they give you more efficient clues to where they don't have to spend 2 episodes kind of explaining it. But I kind of feel more justified in how everything turned out, because I know exactly what the king did from the first series. Like, it's also a kind of thing where it's like, it's kind of unfortunate. Like, it's not 100% his fault, but it is, because he's the king. So it's kind of, it's I don't know. I like how they explained it in the first one, but then I also like how efficient the newer one is. There's also one really cool story that happened in the first one, and there's one episode where they kind of flip the formula. So basically, normally it's Kino's traveling from his last place and he goes into a new place, and then he kind of meets a few people who kind of give him a tour of the country that he's going to be in, and then he picks a place to stay and then interacts with a few different people, and then a major situation happens, he resolves it, and then he moves on to the next location, and that usually takes over the course of 3 days. With this one, he didn't physically go anywhere. Well, he was in one place, but it wasn't like a city. He kind of met 3 people from this one company. Like, basically it's the company that was building a railroad, and he's traveling down the railroad. It's all like raggedy and nobody uses it, and it's just and he ends up finding this one guy who has this like cart on the rails, and he's sitting there just scrubbing the rails, like polishing them up. And he's like, oh, and then he starts talking to the guy, and the guy explains, I've been doing this for 50 years. And he's like, 50 years? You're like, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this until somebody tells me to stop. And since nobody's told me to stop, I'm going to just do that. And he's like, I have a family at home, but they should be getting my paychecks and everything. So I'm going to do that. I'm doing this for them. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then he's like, well, it's about time for me to take my lunch. So I'm going to sit here. How don't you join me? And Kino joins him. And he's like, hey, since you're a traveler, do you have any interesting stories? And then he tells the story about this country where nobody has to work. And then they go into the details of that village that he visits. And it's kind of the episode through a flashback. So I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way to like handle like this format for the show. So he basically goes through that whole village. And then the story ends, and it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. Like their lunch is over and everything. So then now the tracks are all polished and sand, and it's all nice. And he's like, brrr. And then he ends up stopping, and he sees a guy like taking apart the railroad. Like he's like just unscrewing everything and just stacks of supplies all over the place. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I work for this railroad company. What I do is I take apart the railroad because it's not being used. And then and he's like, well, he's like, yeah, I've been doing this about 50 years. No, he said, I've been doing this about 49 years or something like that. So it's like a year from the other guy. And then he's like, yeah, it's about time for you to take my lunch. And they go through the whole thing again. And I'm like, that's interesting. But they don't do the flashback, of course. And then he's like, okay, well, that was cool. I'm going to go and leave because their lunch is over and everything. And then he starts traveling down the railway, and it's just a nice regular road. And then he meets another guy, a guy who's building the railroad. And he's like, oh, I've been doing this for 48 years. So I have brothers at home. They should be getting my check and everything like that. And then he's like, it's about time for me to take lunch. So, so how about you join me? And he's like, no, I think I'm gonna pass. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, you have any stories? Like, could you hang around for a little bit? And he's like, nah, I'm pretty boring. I don't really have any stories. And then he just like takes off and the episode's over. And I'm like, that was amazing. Like, it's like 2-in-1 kind of thing. It's like some very interesting characters, a silly situation. And, like, I really love how that played out. So I feel, because I haven't seen, like, the newer one, I don't know if they would like take chances as far as the format, but
oh no, they do.
Okay, cool.
There was one when you were talking about it, reminded me of, because you know his rule's always 3 days, in and out. I think it was on the same one that I was talking about before, where he met the person who could basically kill somebody and get away with it.
Yeah.
This was a city where he couldn't remember what happened.
Oh.
You see him driving into the city, and then the next thing you know, you see him driving out of the city. And what ends up happening, he ends up finding out that people who go into that city, visitors, they actually have to have them sign a waiver, an agreement that they can only stay in that city if they take a drug to remove the memories that they had of the city. So he signed a waiver to do it, and he gets told by his motor rad, he's like, no, you really enjoyed that city, and you wanted to stay longer, but you couldn't. He actually wanted to stay longer, but he couldn't. And, yeah, that was the thing. It literally, he has no memories of that city.
Dang it. I'm like, motor rad, do a flashback.
Nope. Laura made an agreement that he would not sell anything about the actual city itself.
Hey.
So literally nobody knows about the city other than the fact that they had a really good time while they were there. That's it.
Yeah, so I definitely hope that this gets more serious, because like these are some really interesting stories that I haven't like seen anything close to before.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But yeah, so everybody watch Kino's Journey. It is amazing. The old one and the new one. The old one, they re-released the DVDs from back in 2009 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're pretty cheap. And I don't think anybody's streaming it. I need to check it to see. But yes, Kino's Journey, original and new, both spectacular. All right, speaking of a spectacular show, the next show we're going to be talking about is The Ancient Magus' Bride, or Mahotsukai no Yome.
Yes. Well, so I'm going to let you go on this one. What do you think about this one?
I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to continue it. They're slowly building up some really, really cool things. And I love how right now, I don't think they're going to skip a season, but I like how right now, like, something big happened, and they could end it right here and be like, this is the first core. We'll be back in the season.
Yeah, no, I think this one's going for at least 24 episodes, I want to say.
Yeah.
This one continues into the next season.
Yeah, but I like how they kind of, like, knew this was, like, the midpoint, and they kind of wrapped it up somewhat like of a...
You realize that the OVAs that we watched in the very beginning, this is now where the OVAs take place.
Oh.
So, yeah, they knew this was the halfway point, because this is now where the OVAs take place.
Wait. Oh! Yes, the present time part of the OVAs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually had to look back at it, and I didn't realize this, but the staff that she just got, her wand, if you look at the very beginning of the first OVA for that, when it shows her waking up, that wand's in there. It's in her.
That's cool.
Yep. So right now we have now caught up to where present time we were at from previously watching the OVAs.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this. The closest I could say to this, I recommended to somebody else, was this is like almost like an anime version of Harry Potter kind of thing. And that's about as close as I can think to get to it as far as what's going on. But even that doesn't necessarily completely say all the things that are going on in this series, because wow, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of lore that they're using, which I greatly appreciate. That one character that they ended up coming across, that had taken that one dude's arm.
Oh yeah.
And that actually caused Aeolus to be very upset and go into his other form. I actually looked it up. That is actually in lore a person.
Huh.
It is actually a person with what they named him as, and they said he said, "Don't call me by that."
Yeah.
I actually looked up that name. That is literally a person in religious lore and Catholicism that Jesus, when he was getting crucified, told him that he would be there until the very end. That this person will live until the very end, and that's why he can't die.
Oh yes, because he said that what was it? The Son of God cursed him or something like that? Yes.
So they're using actual lore in this. I didn't look up Aeolus. I'm really curious about who he is, because they used his other name too for him as well, which I think is something from that. They keep, and in the very last couple episodes for that so far, because I think this is another one that like I said, they're continuing in the next season. They called him by another name, and I'm curious as to how that name, who that name correlates to, and how that all is there. But either way, this is an amazing series, and I don't think it's getting enough recognition for what it is.
Yeah,
I really don't. I think there are people who are passing this one by that shouldn't. Yeah. I think this should get as much acclaim as like some of the bigger names out there, like, you know, Attack on Titan and stuff like that. Yeah. This should rank right up there with that, because it is an amazing series.
There's so many cool things about this. Like, I don't even know.
All the creatures, all the magic, the storyline and how it's developing. I mean, I honestly cannot find fault in this series. Yeah. I really can't. The pacing is good. The characters are interesting and greatly fleshed out. Yes. Even if you don't know everything about them, that you still feel the weight of their history in them.
Yeah,
you know, like, even if I didn't know, even if I didn't look up that one dude and who he was in relation to getting cursed by the Son of God or whatever, I still felt the weight of his history on him. Yeah. So.
And it's cool, like how almost like Do-Ra-Ra-Ra, how the characters' backstories are all intertwined. Like they may not know each other, but like how the main bad guy kind of links everybody together. Because it's like the dog, like the dog had no relation to Elias or Chise. But when they found him, they ended up meeting the guy who created a freaking chimera from his sister, and then that's also the same person who ended up messing with those two people who ended up being that black blob that she ended up healing like a couple episodes before. And it's almost like such a small world how everybody knows each other, but it's spread out far enough to where you shouldn't run into them like every day. But it's I don't know, it's really, really cool. I can't wait to see if their like supplies lady like gets involved in the story, because she seems really capable as far as like magic.
I will totally admit though that when that whole fight went down and Elias went completely
beast mode
off the chain, I was so happy with that. I was like, oh yes, hell yes.
I was doing the same thing. I was like, you done fucked up.
Yeah, basically, I was like, oh, you so fucked up on this one. Did not want to do that.
Oh.
But maybe that character did. Maybe that character is actually trying to find a way to die. And that's the reason why he did something like that. Knowing full well how that would play out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a lot of interesting things, and I'm so excited to see how it's going to turn out. And I know I'm going to be sad when they finish the series. I mean, I'm hoping they'll even I'm hoping that even though I know there's going to be continuing on to the next season, that even that's not going to finish it, and that they're going to be like, all right, we're going to go to season 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, Hell yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Let's keep this train rolling, because so many interesting things. And actually to find a series that does not vilify dragons is so nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
One thing that's kind of cool is, even though Chise and Elias are like the main characters, I feel like a bunch of people are meddling in their like relationship, and they're like, he gets it. Also, he's like, I know that I'm not really handling this situation correctly, but I'm doing the best that I can. And then everybody else is like, you need to value yourself more. You need to like do this and that. And it's I don't know. It's like I'm like I get it. And I'm like, but he admits it. He doesn't know exactly what he. And like especially the part where when I guess somebody had explained something that's gonna happen to Chise, and it was something that he didn't want her to know yet because he didn't know how to break the news to her, and then he started freaking out, and he's like, hey, yeah, I know this is happening. You know what if I erase that memory? Like, that'll make you feel better, right? And she's like, nah, don't worry about it. She's like, I'm fine. And I was like, yeah, she was like, don't be scared. Like, I'm not going to run away kind of thing. And I'm like, it was so good.
I was so happy and giddy, too, when they introduced Titania and Oberon.
Oh!
I had a smile on my face. I was like, oh, hey, it's Titania and Oberon. Hell yeah. It's just the amount of lore and that they're bringing into this. It just makes it that much better. So
cool. Yes, like you said, everybody should be watching this. You got a whole another season. Watch it.
Watch it.
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Recovery of an MMO Junkie, or Net-juu no Suzume.
Okay, first off, if anyone watches this, the last episode at least that Crunchyroll had, don't even bother watching it. Just don't. I don't know why they had it. I don't know why. They literally, it was the artist pre-rendition of the first episode. So literally before they put all of the nice drawings on everything, it was literally just a sketch from the artist of the first episode, and they played that. And I was like, at first I thought it was some sort of joke, or I didn't understand maybe it was going to be different. No, literally, screen for screen, shot for shot. I'm like, why? No, I did not need this. This is not something I needed in my life. I already saw the first episode, and I saw it actually fully fleshed out. Why am I rewatching this? After like 5 minutes of watching it I'm like, I recognized it and went, skip, another 5 minutes. Nope, I remember that. Skip, yep, nope, skip, nope. Skip. All right, we're done. Wow, that was pointless. I have no idea why they did it, but they did it. So
was the story over, or would like?
Yes. Yeah. I don't.
So they basically used like a DVD special for like episode 12.
Yep. Oh yeah. I have no idea. That's the first time I've ever come across that. So that kind of irritated me. All in all, though,
that's so weird. Okay.
Taking that out of it, it was a nice and interesting slice of life romance.
Okay.
With elements of, elements of like RPG-ish when they go into the game and whatnot. So it's one of those awkward moments, but I think I typically don't like animes that use like the awkward moments, because I'm always sitting there going, oh God, you're being so stupid. Stop it. Stop. I don't even want to watch. Stop it. But I think this one did it really well. And it was one of those instances, and from the very beginning, you're seeing how well connected the two characters are, and you're just sitting here going, when's it going to happen? When are they going to find out? When are they going to finally realize? When are we going to put two and two together, and this is all going to come down, and the guy realizes it first, and then eventually the girl gets it. I think because he actually tells her eventually, because it was getting too awkward for him otherwise. Because he, just like you were saying with Elias and Magus' bride, he didn't know how to explain it or how to say it. Same with this guy. He was like, he gets it, and it takes like I think an episode or two after that for him to finally say it to her as far as how they're connected or how they know each other. But it's just because he did not really know the best way to say it, because it was just getting awkward in so many ways. But it was still a very, very good. I laughed, just and I think just because and being a gamer myself, I understand and look at these situations and could laugh at some of them because at least if you have some background in gaming, you get more of the inside jokes that they have. So, but all in all, it's a nice, cutesy little interesting story. Other than the fact that their episode 12 was just BS, I have no qualms with it. I mean, it wasn't an amazing thing. It wasn't an groundbreaking anime by any stretch of the means. I did enjoy the opening theme song to this one. It actually caught my attention before I could skip it. But beyond that, yeah, it's a nice, funny little relaxing anime to watch, I'd say.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get around to this one. I do like the gender swap of the characters.
Yeah. The guy played a girl and the girl played a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely one that I'll have to get back to later on. I definitely want to finish this one because it had a good start. Trying to think. Yeah, so like you said, the story's over, so not really.
I mean, at this point, I think they ended it with the two of them living together now, so.
Awesome.
Yeah. They might do something further with it, but I don't feel like they have to.
Okay. And it's like I have other questions I want to ask, but I don't want to spoil myself. So, so, all right, I will definitely check that one out. Let's see. The next show we're gonna be talking about is Food Wars: The Third Plate.
It just, I don't know. I think at this point I've said I know you're never gonna watch it, and I get that. I get that.
Probably not anytime soon.
But I think it's more of what we've been seeing throughout the entire series. At this point, storyline wise, the girl that has been kind of the main character, kind of the one in the Elite 10, her father has taken over the school and is trying to conform everyone's cooking, and those that can't keep up or those that won't conform get kicked out. Clubs are being demolished, dormitories are being demolished, but our main character, our hero, he still pushes through and still manages to get things done. And it is, again, it's if anyone out there who's listening to this, if you've ever stopped and watched Food Network for a show, of any show, doesn't even matter. I don't care if it was Rachel Ray or Pioneer Woman or whatever, something. If you like anime and you did something like that, watch this anime because it's cooking, but it's an anime style in its own way. And you have your protagonist, your main hero, who's trying to overcome great obstacles and odds, and it's interesting in its own way. And it's taken this is the second season or is this the third season? I forget. Third season. It's taken this long for that girl to finally hear the fact that her idol chef that she cherishes and wants to whatever is Yuki Hira's father. It's taken that long for that truth to finally come out. Literally, the last episode I just watched, the ending of that episode had that truth come out. And it was just like, wow. That's like, what? I think each of these have been like 24 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 24 or 48, so 60 episodes before that truth has finally come out. Wow. I was like, oh my God. Why have we gotten to that point already for? Whatever. All right, sure. But again, yeah, if you like Food Network cooking shows and you enjoy watching anime, watch this one. Yes, they are over the top. Yes, people's clothes get torn away in orgasmic experiences for food. But you know what? You ask a foodie out there who's taken and done delicacies with foods, you know what they probably feel in their mind? That's probably the same way when they take a bite of certain things too. So not even going to say it is what it is, but it's anime and it is still highly enjoyable to watch.
Oh, yeah, I'm still on episode 1.
Episode 1, season 1.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, for those of you who like Food Wars, another season, more competitions and some destruction, I guess.
Oh yeah. It's still really good though. I mean, and the characters themselves are very interesting in themselves. Like the gray-haired kid standing next to Yukihira in the picture there.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually the seat 1 in the Elite 10.
Okay.
And you'd think he'd be all like pompous and everything, and in some ways he is, but he has some human qualities to him as well, which I greatly appreciate, and it shows a greater characterization than what you would stereotypically see in something like that. So, he cherishes his cooking highly, but then like social interactions, he starts getting all flustered and doesn't know what to say or do, or he cooks these magnificent dishes and serves them to people, and he has no worries that his food isn't good. He knows his food is good, but then he's going around to people who are dining, being like, "Are you feeling okay? Is it too cold in here? Is it too hot? Do you need some more water? Are those sheets comfortable?" He goes all so flustered over himself. You can't see him as like a bad guy, even though he's like Yukihira's competition.
Yeah.
He's top tier is what he is, so.
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Garo Vanishing Line.
Again, this is, I think we said it when we first reviewed this, or saw the first couple episodes of this. This is like, let's take everything stereotypical American, make it into an anime. Just throw it all in there. Just labeled on top of the America, I swear. But it's still interesting. It's still fun. And the characters are a little stereotypical in some fashion. Mm-hmm. You have the main character who's the muscle-bound, kind of, doesn't really think things through all the way, charges into battle just because he knows what's right and what's wrong. You have the little kid sidekick who tries to do what's right, but of course doesn't always do what's right and kind of botches things in her own way, but still manages to do something at least good. Mm-hmm. Female also with the main character who's kind of a half love interest, half professional, work together, going to kill the bad guys kind of thing, So, I mean, and of course it's like, what's that director, Abrams or something. It's like he directed this because you got explosions, fights going on and everything. But it goes a little deeper in a lot of that too, because they show the aftermath of things like that. They had two of the main guys who were going head to head, fully armored, and they were like wrecking the city in their fight. But then they actually show the aftermath of what was happening to the people in that city after the fight was over, which is something you don't usually see in like superhero-esque type movies and shows and media and stuff like that. So I can appreciate that. So it's a lot of it's over the top, and a lot of it's in your face action sequences kind of thing. But it does have some depth to it. So I think that's kind of why I stick around with it while watching, an episode here or there, and I'll wait for a little bit and I'll watch another one when I feel I can go get through it. But I don't sound like I'm really forcing myself, but I'm really not, because it's still interesting enough that I want to come back to it. Mm-hmm. So
okay. I watched a couple episodes of this. I really liked it. I wasn't a big fan of Garo's series before, but I really like this one, so I'm definitely gonna come back and continue it. It's a good kind of over the top.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's a great action-packed show. Everybody should check it out. All right, the next show you're gonna be talking about, and I believe the last show is Yokai Apartment. Wait, Elegant Yokai Apartment Life.
Yes. So this is now the finishing because this carried over from last season, and this is now finishing this season.
Is it really only 2? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is episode 26, I think. They finished it up at.
Did they skip a season?
No.
Oh, okay.
This carried right on through, so. And honestly, they finished it, and they could technically end it here, but I could also see where they could continue it as well if they wanted to.
Okay.
And this is another interesting, I think it's kind of the theme for this season was kind of slice of life in a lot of ways. because this was kind of a slice of life. But it was interesting enough just because the main character lived in an apartment complex with yokai. And some of these yokai really had some tragic backstories as far as how they came to be. But it's still, even with that, it's, you're following this kid around who now has a magic book and is learning how to essentially be a Magus, but at the same time still living his own life and dealing with high school problems, people not liking each other, or, some kid who he ends up running across who's kind of going down the wrong path and, potentially stealing, things from a convenience store, and he ends up kind of showing a better way and making them, be a better person because they see the wrongs of what they've been doing. So, I mean, it's, morals and slice of life, but it's also interesting because he gets in a tight spot and sometimes he'll just whip out his magic book and just summon some little spirit or whatever to do something about it. Sometimes people get like shocked or blown away or whatever. Yeah. But again, it's interesting enough. I don't know what else. I mean, I guess they could continue it because he only finished his first year, I want to say, of schooling, and he's only now really started getting into like the full swing of things with his magic and everything like that. So I can see where they could do more, but honestly, they could leave it right there where it's at, and I'd be fine with it too. So
okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm a few episodes in. It was actually a pretty interesting story. I have a lot of questions about like a bunch of the characters, but like the other show, I don't want to spoil myself.
Well, in all honesty, they really don't, other than a few little snippets here or there, they really don't explain a whole lot about the people who are living in the apartment complex with him. Okay. And honestly, some of them get even more mysterious when they do answer some of those questions too. So, like the antiquity dealer that they have, for some reason, got into some serious fight, and then appears later on as if nothing happened. And even the main character's like, wait, didn't you die? You're like, no, what are you talking about? Never mind. And he just moves on. He's like, I don't even want to question it. I don't know why. You're here. That's all that matters. We're good. Apparently, that's all that matters. We're carrying on. So either way, it was fun. It's an interesting ride. Again, it's kind of just one of those where you just slice of life. This one more slice of life in the fact that you have a continual progression as you go along, and you see him kind of not necessarily day by day, but at least during the time frame along the way, kind of thing, with only moments skipping around every now and then. Okay. So.
Cool. All right. Well, that was all of the shows that we finished for the fall season of 2017. It has been a good year for the show.
Good year for anime.
Yeah, good year for anime. And next year is gonna be incredible.
Yes, it is. Oh, I am so looking forward to so many series that are coming out.
If the next year turns out like this year is, where each season I can only watch like up to 2 shows, I'm gonna be very sad. But I think those heavy hitter shows are spread out to where, at the very least, I'll be catching up on my most hype shows. So hopefully that's the case. Yeah.
Show me that Overlord Season 2. Show me that Overlord Season 2.
Yeah. So,
and 7 Deadly Sins.
Okay, yeah. So now we got Fooly Cooly 2 and 3. 2 probably come out. I'm not sure if 3 will. Got Attack on Titan again, so I got to catch up. I'm pretty sure we got Boku no Hero 3, so I got to catch up on that. We got Index 3, I think. So
I need to rewatch some of that.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm about to rewatch 1 and 2, and then watch Railgun 2 because they kind of spill over as far as story. Then we got what was it? The mech one. Fumofu is one of them. Full Metal Panic.
Full Metal Panic.
Yeah, we got Full Metal Panic 3. There's so.
Hey, I'm at least caught up on that. So.
Yeah, I am about 2/3 of the way through the first one, so I'm about
You have second raid too, so.
Yeah, and I'm gonna rewatch Fumofu just because I remember Fumofu, but I don't remember what all happened in it.
I don't think you need to remember Fumofu. That was more of just like a filler, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, there's tons of like, and they're all the third.
Oh, they got some seconds too.
Okay.
Either way though, I'm all excited. I'm hyped.
Yeah. So the next episode of this show, I think it said it was 27 days away. It's like it'll be January 28th. That's where it's scheduled. We will. We will announce on Twitter as usual when we go live.
First couple episodes of the new season. Woo!
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like we had talked about. But yeah, we will be back in a month for another episode of Monthly Ketchup. First impressions, January. From of the winter season. Tonight we might do a stream of Giant Jenga. So if anybody wants to hang out, do it for our New Year's stream. And then Monday will be Minecraft Power Hour again with the Chosen One. And 2018 will be more streams, more people, just more. My New Year's resolution for 2018 is just more.
Even though you can't keep up with anime right now.
Yeah, I can't keep up with anime, but I just want more. I want to watch more anime. More. I want to stream more. I want to play more games. I want more people all doing stuff. So, yeah, 2018, the year of more. But, so that's it for us today. That's it for the podcast today. We will be back in like a couple hours. And as always, this is Big D and Shade from TacoYaki Anime. And we will see y'all next time. Bye! We have 12 shows that we will be talking about today.
12? I thought it was 13.
First show on the list will...
This is a really good shonen show. And I can see it going the distance. And really getting a lot of episodes and everything. And I'm really intrigued